So James is having burgers today, and he'll be talking about unsolved crimes.
The Encyclopedia of Unsolved Crimes.
And I'll be sitting with Angel.
Now, we got this free, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, I got it from the little library.
Yeah, little library. Well, wonderful in the neighborhood. So on the cover we've got Jimmy Hoffa, Marilyn Monroe, and what was her name? Jo Bonnet or Jo Bonnet or something like that. I forgot the last name.
I think it was John, but maybe it was John.
Jo?
I don't know. John? Jen? I'm not sure.
I don't even know what to look because I've forgotten the last name.
Ben. I think Bennett.
Well, I think they had an accent on it. Okay. Anyway, not a terribly important thing on the screen. Neither is really Marilyn Monroe. And Jimmy Hoffa's not either. So this thing could be productively to be divided into 3 parts. And maybe it should have been a 3-part encyclopedia thing with 1 part unsolved and solvable crimes, and then 2 parts for unsolvable crimes. There's a lot about mafia killings. You're never going to solve those because as soon as you start zeroing in on someone and getting witnesses, the witnesses disappear. They disappear forever. They get deep six or whatever, concrete shoes, or they get thrown in a dumpster and sent to a dump controlled by the mafia and stuff like that. Or they get put into the foundation for a stadium in New Jersey. What is it? The Meadowlands. That's what they say to happen. Someone said it happened to Jimmy Hoffa. It's being contracted out to mafia builders and construction outfit, and they just put them in the foundation. So maybe eventually when they knock down Meadowlands and put up a new one, and these things happen more quickly than they should. They say the roof is falling down from the saddle dome, or parts of it. It's
they shouldn't have built such a stupid roof.
39 years old. 39 years old. The Pantheon, which was put up about 2,000 years ago. Last time I heard, it's still standing. The Leaning Tower of Pisa might be 10 times as old as the Saddle Dome. It's leaning, but it's still standing up. But the Saddle Dome, modern technology. I'm coughing because I got a little bit of cough. It's not COVID. It's McKenna. But yeah, they've got to bring that down around our ears and put it up, all at the taxpayer's expense. So so mafia, uninteresting, unsolvable, unsolved crimes, and something even more interesting because it involves the whole, the majority of the population, plus the police, plus the court system, plus the lawmakers. And that's Ku Klux Klan and allied killings. And you'll never solve those. You know who did it, but no one will ever be brought to justice. So about a third of the stuff in here is mafia stuff. About a third is Ku Klux Klan and associated killings. And then a third are the stuff that's semi-interesting, which is serial killings and stuff like that. Marilyn Monroe, she committed suicide. Yeah, her place was probably cleaned up by Peter Lawford, part of the Kennedy clan. They just didn't want it out that she was having an affair with, or had an affair with John F. Kennedy, and was having an affair of some sort with Robert Kennedy, who was the Attorney General. He was the boss of the justice system, federal justice system in the United States, and also of the FBI. So that one's pretty uninteresting. Hoffa's uninteresting. I don't know what her parents were thinking. They did some amazingly silly things. I don't think they were involved, but they did some silly things that made them look culpable.
Oh, Bennett Ramsey, I think.
Ramsey. Let's see if it's you remember it right. Ramsey. Well, I see Ramsey in here. John Benet. Yeah, I figure if it's got the accent, you say Benet like French.
Oh, okay.
But you remembered it, John Benet Ramsey. But you were maybe 15 when that happened, or something like that. So,
It was big news, yeah.
it was big news. I barely followed it. Oh, you were 21 years old. Something like that. I didn't realize it was that recent. Anyway, who knows how it's pronounced. But pretty uninteresting because unless it was part of a serial killing, that the parents didn't go on and kill their other children if they had other children or other people's children. So I don't know what happened. But serial killing, where people get away with it is semi-interesting. I did keep track of all the mafia killers in here who were mentioned in here, and it was enlightening. Who did I keep track of it? Yeah. So this is, I think it was a random sampling of killers, some of the worst killers. 2 out of the 3 were seemed to be of English extraction. 2 out of 83 rather. So that's 1 out of 40. That's a little over 2% or something. 4 out of 83 were Irish, and I'm part Irish, very little English. I was kind of surprised it was that low. It's 1 out of 20. I think Frank Costello, whatever his name was, that's not Abboton Costello fame or anything, was Irish. He definitely had Irish last name. 1 out of 83 Spanish. I'm afraid that would have changed now. What with various cartels and stuff like that in the United States. 1 out of 83 Greek, and I knew I got a biography of a contract killer. Autobiography, actually. He was a Greek as well. 2 out of 83 black, and that would have changed. What with various hip-hop stupidity, things like that. Here's kind of like what I expected. 5 out of 83 Italian. Most of them would be Sicilian. That's circa 70%. But this is the one that shocked me. I knew there were some, like Meyer Lansky. 22 of 83 Jewish. That's over. The Jews should have been let in. Most places in the 30s they just shut their doors, including Canada, their own homeland. The Brits shut the doors to so-called Palestine, Israel. But they should have been more careful about who they let in. They shouldn't have let in Meyer Lansky and folks like that, or their ancestors, stuff like that. I'm particularly sensitive to immigration now because I just ran into a couple down in the river bottom. They are Germans, and ethnic Germans, and they are strong supporters of Trump, and they hate Biden. They don't think that there's anything in democracy in the world. They're skeptical about it. They were huffing and puffing about the last American election and saying it was a joke, so they're adopting the Trump line. The husband in particular figured that the Americans were the ones that set the Germans loose on the Russians way back when. You can tell he supports the Russians against the Ukraine right now. But he was saying the Americans, are like this with we're like this with are like this now with the German military and stuff like that. Just a weird couple. The guy would have, based on what he was saying, would have been born at the end of World War II. Not actually the end. It would have been 1942. This stuff still continues. They shouldn't have been that young. So the thing is, I'm not saying cut off all Germans from coming in, but for Pete's sake, be careful. Don't let people in. You'll say to people who support just unlimited immigration, Should they let Nazis in? No, 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 no. Fascists? No, no, no. But everyone else? No. No, it doesn't work out that way. You don't let anyone in who doesn't believe in democracy. I don't care what color they are. They come from Mars and they're green. They don't believe in democracy. They should not be let into any democracy in the world. So that was a enlightening. I knew there were some Jews. I would have guessed it would have been, what was that? 25%, 1/10. So the important thing is you don't let in people who are nasty. You let in, you check out individuals. I'm not talking about a group of people. You check out individuals and see what their beliefs are. And I'm afraid what that would involve is, it's not you write a test and see if you answer all the things right. You get monitored. And you may get monitored all your life, and maybe your kids are let in. But you get monitored in situations where you're not allowed free reign to run loose and undermine the democracy by doing gang stuff or doing revolutionary stuff, assassinating people, whatever. Yeah? So Emma Goldman shouldn't have been let into the United States. She ended up egging, at the very least, the guy who assassinated William McKinley a little over 100 years ago, roughly 122 years ago. So it's kind of, I was hoping to kind of find as threads between one type of killer and another, because it's a really smart killer, and I'm afraid most of them aren't. They are, they get a certain modus operandi, and that's what turns them on. Not so much the killing, but the mode of killing. But a really smart killer would move to another place and adopt a different mode of killing, and it'd be almost impossible to track the idiot down. So it has one of the first killing sprees that they deal with is Jack the Ripper thing, but there's more stuff from the more recent stuff. And I think there's this idea that, that urbanization and city living spawns serial killing. I don't think it really makes people much more prone to killing. It's just they have so much more chance where people don't know who their neighbors are. They don't keep track of some flunky who's behaving silly that comes in from another place or whatever. If a serial killer would have a hard time doing a serial killing in a village. There's so few opportunities, so few people, and people pretty soon figure it out. You get into a big city like London, around the time of Jack the Ripper, maybe 1890 or something like that, or New York, or the Los Angeles sprawl, or the sprawl around the Bay Area. People don't notice some person is acting weirdly. We saw a person who was acting weirdly today when we walked down to the...
Yeah, he was talking about a crowbar.
A crowbar.
And it was concerning.
Hey, Lethbridge, or something like that. Something about a crowbar. You got a crowbar, or he's threatening people generally with a crowbar. I don't know if he's threatening us. I just
he didn't have one on him, as far as I could see.
No, but you never can tell. Anyway, the fellow should not have been mixing around in the public, from what I can tell. I didn't seem to read that.
Some people need supervision. They
need some sort of supervision. Yeah. It should be attentive supervision in the sense that it shouldn't be negligent. They shouldn't be thrown in some corner. It shouldn't be solitary in the sense that there should be people taking care of them around it. But like when it comes to that sort of thing, getting stuck with other people like that, in kind of like a group situation, that's punishment.
Yeah, that's not good.
So it shouldn't be punishment. It should be where people are restrained from threatening people who want to go about their business.
So I realized you were just about over with that book.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about these movies.
It's not recommended. It's got 3 different things mixed in together.
Yeah. So I watched this one first. This is Death on the Nile. And I have to admit, I don't actually like Kenneth Branagh or whatever as I don't know how to pronounce it, but as Hero. I don't know how you feel about it.
I don't care for him. The best I've seen is the guy who's actually doing a TV series. You know which one I'm talking about.
Sure.
He looked like the way Perot was described. You know, like this guy, he had salt and pepper in his hair. My impression was, you know, Perot dyed everything, his hair, his mustaches, as it's called, and so on and so forth. So maybe his chest hair, I don't know.
But I did like the story, and I really liked the scene where they came across, what is that called?
Abu Simbel?
Yeah. Oh,
Father of Simbel, I think.
On the Nile. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not there anymore. They moved it, James said.
Yeah, they moved it for the High Dam, the Aswan Dam.
Yeah.
I think they just moved it a little bit inland. We might still be on the edge of the water, but yeah, it's Ramses II monumental thing, and I think it might be 2 images of him, and then a couple of his tutelary gods, and then one of his wives. Like his image is like this high, and then one of his wives.
And she's just tiny. Yeah. And
ridiculous.
Then I watched this one.
And I understand that was just one of his wives. He had lots of them, and probably a lot of concubines too. Go on.
Licorice Pizza, and it had Bradley Cooper and Tom Waits and Sean Penn in it. And I hadn't recognized Sean Penn. That's really interesting.
Okay,
I realize who he was now. But he was this guy.
Okay.
But anyway, I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I'm creeped out by the story because there's this woman she's working for a high school photographer, and a 15-year-old guy is hitting on her.
Now let me guess, that role was not played by Tom Waits.
No. And she says 25, she's lists her, like, she tells people she's 25 for a while, and then at one point she kind of makes a mistake. She says 28, and then she corrects to 25. But so
she's kind of
I think she's probably 28 or supposed to be in this, right?
Almost
but in
twice
any
as old
case,
as the kid.
he is 15, and he was going to be 16 in 1 month at one point in the movie, and some time passed. So I imagine he's 16 by the time they get together. But
sounds kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy. But anyway, I did enjoy the movie. And then I watched Encanto, which is a Disney movie. And out of the 3, even though I did not expect, I didn't even want to borrow this from the library. I was just like, whatever.
You wanted to fill out the list.
I thought, may as well. So I borrowed it, and out of the 3, this one was the one I enjoyed the most. And I'm really glad that Disney is back to making movies that people actually want to watch with some quality to them, you know? Because for a long time there, it was just all about making money for them, and they were putting out crap. It was so bad.
Maybe they retired that Michael Eisner, the guy who changed it around.
Yeah.
He was such a sleazebug.
Because it was so bad there for a while.
Yeah.
But now Disney's back to making some good stuff. This was a great movie. I loved the way that the main, I guess, theme song for the movie, it was done in Spanish. And it always bothered me that they would have movies that were set in other places, you know, stories like
Aladdin or The Lion King.
And they didn't have music that would be from there.
So
and kids
I think The Lion King
They'd think it was great.
By Elton John, right? I think he even wrote the tune for Hakuna Matata. They were trying to
well, at least they
ethnic.
put some
with I think that's Swahili.
Yeah. But in any case, this is so much better having the Spanish song. And there were characters in the show that they were singing a song, but I'm pretty sure if I watched it in Spanish, and maybe I should, just to see if they changed the lyrics to be Spanish for those characters when they're singing the songs, because I bet they did. And if they didn't, well, they should have. But I can't review on that because I don't know for sure because I didn't watch it in Spanish. But you could and see, and it would be interesting to see if they made those characters sing Spanish, which would be appropriate, right, when they're singing. Anyway, yeah, the story is great. I actually believe in this stuff somewhat because when I was a little girl, I was able to hear some animals talk to me, and now that I've gotten older, it happened to me again fairly recently that I heard an animal talk, and I had a conversation with him, and
in my backyard?
he heard me, like everything that I was saying, he did. He said okay, and he went over, like where I told him to, asked him to go or whatever, and so it was obvious he was understanding me as much as I was understanding him. So
You're
I don't
talking
know.
about a while now.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't hear the dogs. They say that I can talk to them, that I understand them, but I can't actually hear them. But I mean, I understand their body language somewhat and some things like that, but I can't actually hear them speaking. But with some animals, it's like they're speaking English in my head, like here, and I don't know why. So, but in any case, I wouldn't call it magic. I just don't know what it is. But I guess if you want to call it magic until science figures out what it is, but there's a lot of things that we can't explain that exist, and there's a lot of beauty to it. And this story was beautiful, and it was magical, and like in the end, they were the magic that was the thing that was most magical about them was them. The fact that they existed, they were, good people, and it was love that fixed everything in the end, the love for each other. And that's lovely. What a wonderful story for children to watch. I don't know really what else to say. Anyway, I guess that's about it. Do you have anything to talk about?
Well, we had a magical day with animals.
Oh, we did. Because first a bird landed in my hand, and then it was a little chickadee. And
no, you had some fruit in your hand, right? Some choke
well,
cherries?
I put choke cherries in there because normally I bring seed down for the birds, and I only put the seed in places where I'm allowed to. I don't bring the seed to, say, the national parks or anything like that. That would be a bad idea, and people shouldn't do that, and I don't do that. But I do bring it to where I'm allowed to bring it. So, and I guess others must too, because this little bird landed in my hand, and he was like, I don't want choke cherries. Not that I could hear him say that, because I've never actually heard a bird. Well, besides parrots that have been taught how to speak English words, I've heard them talk. But anyway, yeah, I think there's a lot of power in our hands, in what we do with our hands. I think, like in the Bible, it's by their works you should judge them, and I think that's what you do with your hands. What do you do in your life? How do you treat other people or whatever? What do you do for society, and how do you help other people? And if that includes other animal species or plants or whatever. And like there was a lot of that in this story. It was lovely. Like the one woman, every food that she made was it was healing. So she had a husband that had bee allergies, and he was puffing up all the time, but she would give him some food, and it would take his allergy symptoms down. It was kind of cute, and I believe that. You know, I make James these veggie burgers and stuff like that, and I really believe that it heals. I believe that the food heals, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I think when you actually put love into what you do, with the work that you do,
It helps.
it helps. It adds a magical ingredient to it.
No, believe me, veggie burgers are healing in and of themselves. A whole lot better than burger burgers, hamburgers, or whatever.
And well, if you want to make my recipes for your family, just look back in my earlier posts. I posted a lot. I showed how to make my sauerkraut, kimchi, the burgers, everything that I make.
I think animals can read things like. I stopped to chat with some people. Pauline had to keep walking because of her back.
Oh yeah, and the bird landed in your hand.
Well, what happened was it came down to them. They were sitting down on the bench.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, anyway. And I held out my hand. Came down with my hand. Flew away. And he came back again. Gentle, very, on my head. I didn't look. He landed twice. A little woodpecker. I'd never thought of woodpecker.
No.
Luckily enough, he didn't start.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it a downy?
It's one with the red patch on the back. It didn't really have the crest like woody woodpecker.
Downy.
So, wasn't the biggest I've ever seen. It was very gentle when it landed on my hand. It didn't claw or anything. It was very nice. Very nice little bird.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess that's about it.